It's time to go into business for yourself. Get ready for another episode of the Franchise Academy Podcast. Education, insight, and inspiration. Here's your host, small business and franchise expert, Tom Scarda.
Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Academy. This is the place to come for everything franchising, and we help people figure out if franchising is for them or not. So it's a very educational platform, very into buying franchises, selling franchises, and really how to work with your employees, which is the topic of today's discussion. I have an expert, the queen of culture, and her name is Julianne Sullivan. So Julianne is the catalyst of culture, works with companies to catapult their success through improving communication, creativity, and compassion. So Julianne's diverse background, she has a BA in psychology and a master's degree in accounting. So she has an awesome inside scoop on this, and it's really going to help. The thing I like best about Julianne is she's an expert level certified laugh trainer and leader. And so more than all of that, she's also the author of the international bestseller, Blueprint for Employee Engagement. And do I have all that right, Julie? Welcome, Julianne.
Yeah, so far, yeah. My newest book is Catalyst of Culture. And a lot of my expertise comes from the podcast I do, Businesses That Care. So,
Businesses That Care.
Yes, I have talked to over 60 C-suite leaders now who already have great cultures. And I feel like that was a research project.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see what similarities they had, but it's been a wonderful experience. In all industries, some of them franchisers that you would recognize.
Sure.
Catherine Munson from, who you know, from Fast Signs International, and Chuck Runyon from Anytime Fitness.
Yep.
And all kinds of industries and all sizes and all longevities, new companies, old companies. I have talked to Gary Ridge from WD-40. They've been around for, almost 100 years. So,
right.
But it was interesting because they all have similarities.
So, and you also spoke at McDonald's, one of their conferences.
Yeah, a long time ago. That was one of my first jobs, was talking at a regional meeting of McDonald's. That was great.
So every franchise company has a national convention, usually at least once a year. Sometimes they have regional meetings. So you're a speaker, and you'll speak at those meetings, right?
Yes, absolutely. I just did one in January for R&R Tire Express, and it was a great success because the audience and I create a plan for them to walk out with, and each person's is unique because I give them the structure, but they add in the details.
So you said you spoke with about 60 different C-suite executives, and and they have great cultures. Did you notice one key ingredient that many of them talk about?
Yeah, there are 4 that they all have in common, but the foundation for all of them, which is a great segue into what we need to talk about when franchisers are dealing with their staff, and that's communication. I'm a communication freak, and I would say 80% of my coaching is around how to communicate.
Yeah, that's great. And so, what can you tell us the 4 keys that you heard from these C-suite people?
Yes, I now call it the power of more. So let's see if I can remember them right now. M is for mastery, which has to do with lifelong learning. They all thought it was important as CEOs or C-suite leaders to continue learning and to have their staff and employees learn also, and not just about the business, because we know now that each person that comes into our workplace is a whole human being. And the O stands for open-mindedness, and they were all open to new ideas beyond their own. And I'm going to forget what R is. E is for environment and how to create a safe environment. People aren't going to talk to you. They're not going to tell you when there's a problem or they have a new idea if they don't feel like they're in a safe environment when they can talk. So let me see. So there's good listener, open to new ideas. Oh, the R will come to me. I'm going to kick myself later. It'll come to me.
Yeah, no worries at all. I love, it's just the qualities of a great leader, and the whole learning piece I think is fantastic. Like, you're a certified accountant. Don't know if you practice at the moment, but you know that as a CPA you have to go for credits every so often.
Absolutely, yep.
Most career paths do not have that. And my mentor, and actually the founder of Franchoice company I work with, always talks about that. He's like, if you're driving in your car, throw on a tape. It could be 20 years old. It doesn't matter, because a lot of that stuff does not change. So listen to old Zig Ziglar stuff or whatever, just to learn something new. And there's so much now with Audible and podcasts. You can
no excuses.
There's no excuses to keep learning.
I interviewed a guy once, and he purposely read books he wasn't interested in.
Wow. That takes a lot. Oh my goodness.
Just to keep learning, right?
It's so fantastic.
There's a couple of, actually right now during what's going on, there's a couple of universities out there that are letting people audit classes for free.
Yeah.
There's just no excuse to expand your mind, but we should be doing that all the time, right? We should always be doing that.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree. So today is actually March 27, 2020, to kind of make a timestamp here. We're in the middle of coronavirus pandemic.
Hopefully in the middle.
What's that?
Hopefully in the middle.
Hopefully in the middle and not in the beginning. You're right about that. And nobody knows, unfortunately, at this moment. We need to be hopeful and optimistic that we're halfway through this, I hope. And so how can we communicate better, either with our employees, with our loved ones? Now all of a sudden we're stuck in a house with people who we love, but you know how that could get.
But, yeah. I heard something the other day that said when people are sequestered together, even with little kids or whatever, that you should make a rule, like every day at 3:00, everybody gets alone time, so because people need to be on their own, and routine is very important when you have a lot of time. For anyone, when people are retirees, it's really important to have a schedule, because otherwise you just sit around all day, right? It's easy to do because you can. So routine is very important. And now with people at home, it's really important, especially with kids who usually go to school. It's really important. And the same goes for your employees who, let's say you have a franchise that's closed right now. We can talk about, there's certain franchises that are closed and some that are kind of sort of open, right?
Yeah.
And for the ones that are closed, as a leader, you need to be communicating with your workforce on a regular basis, if not every day. And that doesn't mean you have to have an hour meeting every day. That could be a positive story you found surrounding all the negativity. Remember, news is made for negativity, not positivity. You could be doing that every day in an email. It would take you 5 minutes. As your company changes, people are at home. People who are furloughed right now are scared. And I've always said the word fear is, all about being afraid of things that haven't happened yet. As a leader, we want to let people know what we know and what we don't know. A good leader is willing to say, I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know what's going to happen next month. What I do know and what I am in control of. Because the other part of this is there's so much we're not in control of right now. And we need to recognize that and let it go.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done. But good leaders can do that. And so there needs to be this constant communication and compassion for the people in your workforce, because you really don't have any idea who in your workforce has an elderly mom, let's say, who's in a assisted living and you haven't been able to see her or him for a month.
You're
or
so right.
Someone who's ill.
And I think, what I also have heard is, and it's so true from some great leaders in franchising, I've been on webinars every single day, getting a pulse on what's going on in the franchise side, because we have lobbyists in Washington working for us. We've got all sorts of help.
Sure.
But what they say is if you don't say anything, people will make up stuff.
Absolutely. And that is true every day in business. One of the ideas that several of the C-suite leaders I talked to had was to have town hall meetings where people could ask any question they wanted to. But as you see, if you don't have a safe environment, people won't do that. So it's really important.
The safe environment is really important.
Absolutely.
I noticed that in our culture with the company Franchoice that I work with, we have such a great culture and everyone is open about everything, but that comes from the top because Jeff is open and tells us everything about what's going on in the business and even in his personal life. It just makes us feel like
real.
It's real.
He's real. He's authentic. And so everyone else gets the feeling that they can be too. And if you've never had that in your company, if you've always been a standoff leader, now is the time for you to switch, but you need to understand that people aren't going to buy it right away.
Yeah.
It'll take time.
Right. There'll be a mistrust. They'll be like, well, what's up with him? All of a sudden he's talking to us.
So the best way is to talk about the elephant in the room. You know what? This has given me time to reevaluate. And I've never really been forthcoming before. But I want to change that behavior, and I need you to help me. What a difference those two sentences would make if you are changing.
That's so smart, Julianne. That's great advice right there. So you can change your culture if you do it in a nurturing way with the right words.
And admit you're not perfect. Yeah. The greatest vulnerability is that new sexy word for leadership. And that makes me really happy because, and not only that, it's good for the C-suite leader. They don't have to have all the answers, right? Many of them have grown up in their jobs like they have to have all the answers. That's a lot of pressure, and they're still human.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I never thought about it like that, and I wish that would extend to Washington right now. So
okay, we're not going there.
We're not going there.
That's another show.
That's and we need like a whole 8-hour show for that. But,
or 8 months.
Right. Or 8 years, why not?
Or yeah, whatever.
So that's great stuff. So when you talk to, leaders in the franchise world, it's a little bit different because your franchisees are not employees, but they're looking to you for advice. Do you have any kind of advice you could give to someone who is leading an organization that is not employees but franchisees?
So you're talking about from the franchisor perspective?
Yes.
So in that case, again, it's leadership, it's communication, it's support, it's compassion. I've been talking to some franchisors in the last month or so, and what they are doing is they are reaching out to their franchisees. What's your greatest fear? how can we support you? What issues are you having right now so that we can figure them out together? Maybe an idea would be to, if you have, let's say, franchisees all over the country, is help them set up regional virtual meetings so that they can talk to one another and share, so that somebody in Indiana can talk to somebody in Kentucky who's had the same problem or issue. And I don't want to use problem or issue. I'm going to use challenge, because I like that word better. And see, just changing words makes a big difference. If something's a problem, it's negative. If it's an issue, it's negative. If it's a challenge, it's something you can overcome.
Right.
Maybe in discussing regional franchisees and creating that for them, and maybe somebody from the franchisor office can be the facilitator of those meetings, and let those people talk to one another and have them raise their hand and said, I had that challenge and this is what we did. Or have somebody like you or me come in to facilitate those meetings so that those challenges can be aired. People who sit with challenges, it's like making a snowflake into an avalanche.
Right.
And then it's really hard to get a hold of and to deal with. Communication right now is key.
It's key. And it's all we really have at the moment. So I feel that this kind of video conferencing stuff is going to become, regular hat for business people.
Which is a great idea anyway.
It is, because
you can do it more often than you can have a convention.
You could do it every day, right? You could do it
every quarter even. Let's say every quarter you decide that now like I said, if you have, let's say, franchisors all over the country, you're going to create these mini regional virtual meetings.
Right. And it cuts down on the whole carbon footprint, because now you don't have to get in a car. You don't have to fly. You don't have to, you're going to do it from home. So
not only that, but people can build really strong relationships like that. You know how it is. Any conference you go to the IFA conference, right? And there's thousands of people there. You're not really getting to know anyone new at those conferences. You're too busy saying hi to everybody else, and maybe you have little discussions. But if you set up quarterly regional virtual meetings, that group will start calling one another.
Yeah.
And utilizing each other instead of always going to the franchisor, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the strength of a franchise, by the way. I talk about that all the time, is that sometimes you get the best answers right from your fellow franchise owners, because they've been in the mess.
Because they're in the thick of it. And sometimes regionally, things are different. So if you have a franchisor in New York City and you have a franchisor out in the boonies in Texas, their issues are different. Their challenges are different.
Those challenges, absolutely. Even coming down to like basic county laws, they're going to be way different. State to state, all that.
Yep.
So on this video thing, I don't know if you thought about this yet, but now this is going to be mainstay probably for most companies. Are there any kind of video conferencing etiquette things that we should know?
Well, there's been a couple of them I saw go viral. So, the woman who took the computer into the bathroom with her and forgot to turn the computer away. I saw another picture of somebody who had shorts on and they had it between their legs and looking up their nose. Here's the thing. When you're doing business, you should look like you're doing business.
Yep.
I didn't come here. I'm home. I didn't come here in my pajamas. Right? So you should be like you're running a business. It does something to your own mindset to do that. So that's number one. if you're going to have more than 4 people, you need to have a facilitator. Who's going to facilitate the conversation and set up the boundaries on who talks and muting everyone? And you should either learn or get advice on how to do a virtual meeting that's going to work for you. Because for a lot of people, not for you and me, Tom, but for a lot of people, this is, what is this? How do you use it? What do I do with it? You know, they don't know. Right now, that's one of the things that I am doing to support people, is to help them set that up and give a short, free of charge meeting to their leaders on how to do this.
So great. How does somebody get in touch with you?
JulianneSullivan.com. Just go to Google and do Julianne Sullivan. That's how I am. And LinkedIn, you'll find pages and pages of me. You can't not get in touch with me. It's not possible.
Right.
On my website is my phone number on every single page, and email and contact, and and I am happy to do that for people, because right now I'm in a support mode. I'm not in a sales mode. I'm not going to sell you anything today. I'm going to help you, because for me, every person that can communicate better with their workforce makes their families better, makes their community better, makes the world better. I'm a pebble in a pond kind of person.
Yeah, no question about it. And moreover, from a business perspective, especially these days, if you help me today, I'm more likely to buy something from you tomorrow.
Well, certainly, I hope so. I am a business person as well. But like I said, there's a lot of people selling out there right now. That's not my MO right now. Right now, how can I support people to make their lives better? Because like I said, when I make their lives better, their employees' lives are better, their families are better, their communities are better, the world is better. And I'm a firm believer in that, which is why I love the culture space anyway. Even under normal circumstances, every time I create a better culture in a business, or help or assist or facilitate, because I'm not doing the work, the people are, every time I do that, I'm making a better world. And that's what I believe.
And that's it. And that's karma that comes back to you 100 times over.
Well, I hope so.
It will. You have to know so. And you know it deep down inside. That's why you do it. That's great. And I think, just going back quickly to the last thing we were talking about, using video, I read an interesting article. So you have to think about it from a camera's perspective.
Yeah.
So like I read this article, that said a lot of times women will have the video camera higher, shooting down, which
you never want to do this.
Right. And it makes you...
Nobody wants to look up your nose.
Right. But women feel that if the camera's down on an angle a little bit, it might make you look a little bit thinner on screen. So they do that.
Wow, that's the most sexist thing I've heard in about 2 years.
Yeah, because I could get worse. But it's... this is something that my wife taught me, right? So whenever I have to take a picture of her, it's always, woo, it's up.
Never thought about it.
Yeah, it's some people think about that kind of thing, but if you're in business and you're shooting video like this now, you have to think about things like that. And it's actually...
Why do you have to think about things like that? Why do I need to look thinner?
Well, not that you need to look thinner, I'm sorry. What I mean is that what they said in this article is if the camera's pointing down on you, it makes you look more subservient, whether you're a man or a woman. And a lot of times people have their thing on their desk, their laptop, and it's pointing up at them, so it looks like you're talking down to people. So if you're
right, I just do it straight on.
And it should be straight on. Yours is perfect. Yours is framed right. You got to think about the framing. You got what's behind you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want your laundry basket behind you.
Right.
Again, So people have to be, it's been kind of interesting to see the late night hosts, right? They've been doing stuff from home and seeing their homes and stuff like that. So again, what is it you want to portray?
Right.
Like I said, I didn't show up in pajamas today because I'm a business person. Right. I want to be seen as an expert in my field, and no matter how smart I am, if I came on here with my hat turned sideways in my pajamas, that wouldn't happen.
Right. No,
because people still make first impressions.
And we get to see a little bit of your personality in the background, which we wouldn't have if we were in an office setting face-to-face. And that's a really great thing, I believe. I love that whole idea because we do something called virtual discovery days now or meet the team. So before you buy a franchise, you have to fly out to the location and you meet everybody and they want to meet you and you have to be approved and awarded a franchise. So even though they're selling a franchise, you're not buying one, but you're buying one, but they're not selling one is what I mean. They're awarding a franchise. My point is that on video, people say it's probably not going to work. And I'm like, no, it does work very well. I've been doing this for years. You get to see their background. You get to see their life. You could turn the camera. Here's my dog. You could do all that. And that is authentic, going back to our original statement. And I love that. So, again, tell us, so it's Julianne Sullivan. That's how we're going to Google you and find your information.
Yep, JulianneSullivan.com. Real simple.
Tell us the names of your books again.
The last book I wrote was Catalysts of Culture, and it has to do with the research I did with interviewing these C-suite leaders who have already created and sustained great cultures. There's fantastic ideas in there that you can utilize or tweak for your own, and I discuss the 4 attributes that they all have in common. And the book I wrote before that was Blueprint for Employee Engagement. It has 37 sections. And the reason I wrote that is when people think about employee engagement and culture, it's like, well, it's too big. So they just don't do anything. I do a lot of work with change management. And one of the reasons it's difficult for people to change is it's too big. I broke it down into 37 little sections. You could take that book and work on each section for 37 months, right? Yeah. It's like three years of culture work right there.
Yeah.
And right now on my website, you can also purchase the Employee Engagement Masterclass, where you have videos, very short and succinct, and then I have written specific questions to facilitate a conversation now and 2 weeks in the future. It is the ultimate in engagement. It is not meant to be done alone. It is meant to be done in groups.
Wow. I didn't know you had that. That's awesome.
It's brand new.
That's so great. I want to talk to you more about that.
Okay.
Offline, just I want to get
yeah.
So
and of course I'm doing coaching, and right now I'm doing a lot of virtual meetings. Like I said, these pop-in 20 to 30 minute meetings, letting people vent, letting people talk about their fears and helping them to deal with their day-to-day, hour-by-hour events and challenges.
That's super. And the website is just JulianneSullivan.com.
Simple.
You keep it simple all the time. That's what I like about your work.
Actually, yeah, I'm all about making it simple because many times people convolute action and then it makes it difficult to do. In my coaching, that's a huge part of my coaching, is taking this much and making it step by step.
That's so great. Well, Julianne Sullivan, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today. This was very insightful. It's going to help a lot of people right now, especially during the coronavirus situation.
And going forward, because everything people learn now, they can use in a month from now, a year from now, going forward.
Amen to that. I agree.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure for me because I just want to hug the world right now and help them, and I can't hug them. So this is my virtual hug to everyone.
That's awesome. Keeping your social distance. I love it. Well, thank you, Julianne. We will talk to you very, very soon. Be well, stay safe, and don't forget to wash your hands.
My pleasure.
This has been another episode of the Franchise Academy Podcast. For more info, go to our website, thefranchiseacademypodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Tom Scarda's YouTube channel for educational videos on franchising, education, insight, and inspiration.